Would you mind my little beat?
What's up?
What time is it? At what time is it?
We have only 2 minutes.
I'll do it later.
It's a lie. You owe me learning.
Huh?
You owe me learning.
I owe you.
Yes. Is that true?
What does that mean?
Like you owe me learning.
I owe you learning.
No.
Well, yeah, in the day that you, that's my responsibility is that you learn something.
Entonces, ¿qué son las It's almost time. Pero es cuando te pasaste con la nuez. Dolió mucho. Porque a lo mejor te hiciste. Ya. Te cortaste. Está muy raro. Corre. Una sala. ¿Escuchó usted qué?
Oye, yo es muy bonita para ser pintada, pero bueno, empiezo para que me la mía. Ya me voy. Ok, Daniel, qué raro me como. Es 9:30.
Mr. Light.
Bueno, los tipos de esos menos que... Ok, so, bueno, vamos.
Miren, no está tiempo.
Sorry, I... I forgot. Era animado.
Just so you know, when you choose to sit at your desk during this stuff, you miss out on actually working with your book club, which I will ask you to do. So keep that in mind, that you are missing out on what is a crucial component of historical fiction book clubs. I need Ilana, Laura, Juliana, Pablo. Was there anyone else that was on time today? Or were you the it? Can you guys go outside, please, and come back in like 5 minutes? Thank you. What do you all want to happen? I'm sorry, what? I'll deal with it.
Well, I know what's happening.
I'm asking you, what do you all want to happen?
Today's session works. Oh my God. I have this.
Some of you don't even have your learning notebook or a pen. Well, what do you want? Do you want life to wait for you and be on your time, so when you're ready and that you want? You want people who are ready and on time to wait for you because you're more important than they are? Do you waltz through life thinking that you are the one and only supreme being and all that matters in this world? Because that's what your actions do. Scream. Your actions scream. You could care less about what we're doing here. That's what your actions scream to you. When you don't do stuff on your time, you don't care at all. That you're just trying to waste time. That you're not bought into this at all. So why are you not bought into what we're doing here? Why do you not think this is important? This is the email I will send to you and your parents so you can answer that question. So this group, yes. She was ready and then had to go back and get something. And she apologized for it. You think there's no difference between someone who is sitting in a seat ready with everything except for one thing and then having to go back and get it, and someone who waltzes in 4 minutes late and then asks to go somewhere else? No, it's 28 right now. I've only been talking for 2 minutes.
But not all of it.
I'm just saying, is there a difference between that? Late is late. We're on day what, 115? You still haven't figured this out yet? Huh?
At the beginning of the year, it's okay to have these type of problems, but now
That's what I'm saying. Like, what is it? It just shows a collective not caring. That you are not bought in at all to what we're doing here. So I'm going to need you to explain to me what we need to change to make you think this is important, so that I can get some feedback from you. Because I'm struggling, guys and ladies. I don't want to hear it right now. I'm not in the mood. If you would like to talk to me during your time about things I can do to change things, please do. No, I will also ask you to think about things about how you can change things too. I'm tired. I am tired. I feel taken advantage of in my kindness and my care for each and every one of you as an individual. Like the stuff in here for recess. You know when I'm not in here, you're not allowed to be in here. You're not allowed to be in here. You're not allowed to be outside of the room. And yet people still do it. That is called taking advantage of someone, and that is called being selfish. This is a separate issue. It's just happening over and over and over again. And I'm tired. I'm tired of working as hard and trying to be as fair as possible with all of you, trying to put you in the best situations, and just not getting met halfway at all. So I am tired. I'm exhausted. So now I'm going to have to ask you to think about stuff. And I'm going to try and help you come up with strategies. I'm going to try and help you do this stuff. Because I just don't understand. People have the watch that they bring out there. You have the timer. You have a huge clock up here. Just showing absolutely no care to come back in here. All right, you guys can come back in. 10 minutes late. Like that. Just unbelievable. We're starting 10 minutes late. Pablo, can you get them back? They can come back in now, please.
Hey, you can come back now.
Excuse me.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about big ideas in small details. It's going to be a little different than normal because I'm going to do a read aloud. There's a good reason I'm doing it. Chapter 5, who is the dark-haired one? Do you really think anyone will come? Ellen asked nervously, turning to Anne-Marie in the bedroom. Your father doesn't think so. Of course not. They're always threatening stuff. They just like to scare people. Anne-Marie took her nightgown from a hook in the closet. Anyway, if they did, it would give me a chance to practice acting. I just pretend to be Lisa. I wish I were taller, though. Ellen stood on tiptoe, trying to make herself tall. She laughed at herself, and her voice was more relaxed. You were great as the Dark Queen in the school play last year, Anne-Marie told her. Grow up. My father wants me to be a teacher. He wants everyone to be a teacher, like him. But maybe I could convince him. One last thing before I move on. What's that? No, I don't. I don't have any Chromebooks. And this is for everyone. A teacher is not going to think you care about something if you're not willing to do it on your time. There was a student that was like, oh, I want to ask my teacher if I can go to the book fair and help out. I was like, okay, super great. And she was just wanting time away from class. And I was like, you need to give up some of your time. She's like, why? I was like, because then it doesn't seem important. It doesn't seem like you actually care about it. It just seems like you want to get out of things. I'm saying what it seems like, not what it is. Because if you're not willing to give up your break time, your lunch time, your recess time to do something,
then it tells me as an adult, you don't actually care about it. You care more about your stuff. You don't care about what's going on in here, in this realm. So learn that. If you're not willing to give up and sacrifice stuff of yours that you like and you want to do, a teacher will not respect that. They will not. If you want that respect and you want them to give you something and go, okay, I see that they care about this, you do this on your time. Like this whole how might we thing. Has any of you worked on that whole idea outside of class? The how might we make this place a better place by making kids happy, healthy, and ready to learn by the end of recess? No. Outside of class, what have you done, sir?
I'm going to communicate it.
Right, and you went and talked to Anna Mercedes, right, on your time. We have one little group that's doing that. It shows that you care about it. Why don't we care? That's the question I ask myself all the time. Yesterday, I talked to my wife. Why don't they care? Why? What can I do to make people care more? This is a constant. And I use a big, broad brush. I'm not talking, but it's just this constant thing. How do I get you to care more? Now I'm going back to the read aloud. That was not part of Number of the Stars. If you're confused, that was me going on my last rant of this time. And I know the rants don't even work. That's what's so frustrating.
They should go.
They don't.
I said they should.
They don't. Okay. My father wants me to be a teacher. He wants everyone to be a teacher like him. But maybe I could convince him that I should go to acting school. Ellen stood on tiptoe again and made an imperious gesture with her arm. I am the Dark Queen, she intoned dramatically. I have come to command the night. You should try saying, I am Lisa Johansson, Anne-Marie said, grinning. If you told the Nazis that you were the Dark Queen, they'd haul you off to a mental institution. Ellen dropped her actress pose and sat down with her legs curled under her on the bed. You think? She asked again. Anne-Marie shook her head. Not in a million years. She picked up her hairbrush. The girls found themselves whispering as they got ready for bed. There was no need, really, to whisper. They were, after all, supposed to be normal sisters. And Papa had said they could giggle and talk. The bedroom door was closed. The night seemed somehow different from a normal night, and so they whispered. How did your sister die, Anne-Marie? Ellen asked suddenly. I remember when it happened, and I remember the funeral. It was the only time I have ever been in a Lutheran church, but I never knew just what happened. I don't know exactly, Anne-Marie confessed. She and Peter were out somewhere together, and then there was a telephone call that there had been an accident. Mom and Papa rushed to the hospital. Remember? Your mother came and stayed with me and Kirsty? Kirsty was already asleep, and she slept right through everything. She was so little then. But I stayed up, and I was with your mother in the living room when my parents came home in the middle of the night, and they told me Lisa had died. I remember it was raining, Ellen said sadly. It was still raining the next morning when Mama told me. Mama was crying, and the rain made it seem as if the whole world was crying. That's one of those parts. We've been studying them about like when a part is like written in bold and then it kind of means something. So I'm just curious, is that kind of like... Anne-Marie finished brushing her long hair and handed her hairbrush to her best friend. Ellen undid her braids, lifted her dark hair away from the thin gold chain she wore around her neck, the chain that held the Star of David, and began to brush her thick curls. I think it was partly because of the rain, they said. They said she was hit by a car. I suppose the streets were slippery and it was getting dark and maybe the driver just couldn't see. Anne-Marie went on, remembering. Papa looked so angry. He made one hand into a fist and he kept pounding it into his other hand. I remember the noise of it. Slam, slam, slam. To the wide bed and pulled up the covers. Anne-Marie blew out the candle and drew the dark curtain aside so that the open window near the bed let in some air. See that blue trunk in the corner, she said, pointing through the darkness. Lots of Lisa's things are in there, even her wedding dress. Mama and Papa have never looked at those things, not since the day they packed them away. Ellen sighed. She would have looked so beautiful in her wedding dress. She had such a pretty smile. I used to pretend that she was my sister, too. She would have liked that, Anne-Marie told her. She loved you. That's the worst thing in the world, Ellen whispered. I wouldn't want the Germans to take my family away to make us live someplace else, but still, it wouldn't be as bad as being dead. Anne-Marie leaned over and hugged her. They won't take you away, she promised. Not your parents either. Papa promised that they were safe. And he always keeps his promises, and you are quite safe, here with us. For a while, they continued to murmur in the dark, but the murmurs were interrupted by yawns. Then Ellen's voice stopped. She turned over, and in a minute, her breathing was quiet and slow. Emery stared at the window where the sky was outlined and the tree branch moved slightly in the breeze. Everything seemed very familiar, very comforting. Dangers were no more than odd imaginings, like ghost stories that children made up to frighten one another, things that couldn't possibly happen. Anne-Marie felt completely safe here in her own home, with her parents in the next room and her best friend asleep beside her, and closed her eyes. It was hours later, but still dark, when she was awakened abruptly by the pounding on the apartment door. Anne-Marie eased the bedroom door open quietly, only a crack, and peeked out. Behind her, Ellen was sitting up, her eyes wide. She could see Mama and Papa in their night clothes moving about. Mama held a lighted candle, but as Anne-Marie watched, she went to a lamp and switched it on. It was so long a time since they had dared to use the strictly rationed electricity after dark that the light in the room seemed startling to Anne-Marie. Watching through the slightly open bedroom door, she saw her mother look automatically to the blackout curtains, making certain that they were tightly drawn. This is not a funny part of the book, so I don't know why I see people laughing. Papa opened the front door to the soldiers. "This is the Johansson's apartment," a deep voice asked the question loudly in the terribly accented Danish. "Our name is on the door, and I see you have a flashlight," Papa answered. "What do you want? Is something wrong?" "I understand you are a friend of your neighbors, the Rosens, Mrs. Johansson." "Sophie Rosen is my friend, that is true," Mama said quietly. "Please, could you speak more so my children are asleep?" "Then you will be so kind as to tell me where the Rosens are." He made no effort to lower his voice. "I assume they are at home, sleeping. It is 4 in after all," Mama said. Anne-Marie heard the soldiers stalk across the living room toward the kitchen. From her hiding place in the narrow sliver of open doorway, she could see the heavy uniformed man, a holstered pistol at his waist, in the entrance to the kitchen, peering in toward the sink. Another German voice. "The Rosens' apartment is empty. We are wondering if they might be visiting their good friends, the Johanssons." Moving slightly so that he was standing in front of Anne-Marie's bedroom door, and she could see nothing except the dark blur of his back. "As you see, you are mistaken. There is no one here but my family." "You will not object if we look around." The voice was harsh, and it was not a question. "It seems we have no choice," Papa replied. "Please don't wake my children," Mama requested again. "There is no need to frighten little ones." The heavy, booted feet moved across the floor again and into the other bedroom. A closet door opened and closed with a bang. Anne-Marie eased her bedroom door closed silently. She stumbled through the darkness to the bed. "Ellen," she whispered urgently, "take your necklace off." Her neck. Desperately, she began trying to unhook the tiny clasp. Outside the bedroom door, the harsh voices and heavy footsteps continued. "I can't get it open," Ellen said frantically. "I never take it off. I can't even remember how to open it." Anne-Marie heard a voice just outside the door. "What is here?" "Shh," her mother replied. "My daughter's bedroom. They are sound asleep." "Hold still," Anne-Marie commanded. "This will hurt." She grabbed the little gold chain and yanked it with all her strength and broke it. As the door opened and light flooded into the bedroom, she crumpled it into her hand and closed her fingers tightly. Terrified, both girls looked up at the 3 Nazi officers who entered the room. One of the men aimed a flashlight around the bedroom. He went to the closet and looked inside. Then, with a sweep of his gloved hand, he pushed to the floor several coats and a bathrobe that hung from pegs on the wall. There was nothing else in the room except a chest of drawers, the blue decorated trunk in the corner, and a heap of Kirsty's dolls piled in a small rocking chair. The flashlight beam touched each thing and turned. Angrily, the officer turned toward the bed. "Get up," he ordered. "Come out here." Trembling, the 2 girls rose from the bed and followed him, brushing past the 2 remaining officers in the doorway. Anne-Marie looked around. These 3 uniformed men were different from the ones on the street corners. The street soldiers were often young, sometimes ill at ease, and Anne-Marie remembered how the giraffe had, for a moment, let his harsh pose slip, and he had smiled at Kirsty. But these men were older, and their faces were set with anger. Her parents were standing beside each other, their faces tense, but Kirsty was nowhere in sight. Thank goodness that Kirsty slept through almost everything. If they had wakened her, she would be wailing, or worse, she would be angry, and her fists would fly. "Your names," the officer barked. "Anne-Marie Johansson, this is my sister." "Quiet! Let her speak for herself. Your name." He was glaring at Ellen. Ellen swallowed. "Lisa," she said, and cleared her throat. "Lisa Johansson." The officer stared at them grimly. "Now," Mama said in a strong voice, "you have seen that we are not hiding anything. May my children go back to bed." The officer ignored her. Suddenly he grabbed a handful of Ellen's hair. Ellen winced. He laughed scornfully. "Ha! You have a blonde child sleeping in the other room, and you have this little blonde daughter." He gestured toward Anne-Marie with his head. "Where did you get the dark-haired one?" He twisted the lock of Ellen's hair. From a different father? From the milkman? Papa stepped forward. Don't speak to my wife in such a way. Let go of my daughter or I will report you for such treatment. Or maybe you got her someplace else, the officer continued with a sneer. From the Rosens. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Anne-Marie, watching in panic, saw her father move swiftly to the small bookcase. She saw that he was holding the family photograph album. Very quickly, he searched through its pages, found what he was looking for, and tore out 3 pictures from 3 separate pages. He handed them to the German officer who released Ellen's hair. You will see each of my daughters, each with her name written on the photograph, Papa said. Anne-Marie knew instantly which photographs he had chosen. The album had many snapshots, all the poorly focused pictures of school events and birthday parties, but it also contained a portrait taken by a photographer of each girl as a tiny infant. Mama had written in her delicate handwriting the name of each baby daughter across the bottom of those photographs. She realized, too, with an icy feeling, why Papa had torn them from the book. At the bottom of each page, below the photograph itself, was written the date, and the real Lisa Johansson had been born 21 years earlier. Kirsten Elizabeth, the officer read, looking at the Kirsty's baby picture. He left the photograph fall to the floor. Anne-Marie, he read next, glanced at her and dropped the second photograph. Lisa Margaret, he read finally, and stared at Ellen for a long, unwavering moment. In her mind, Anne-Marie pictured the photograph that he held, the baby, wide-eyed, popped against the pillow, her tiny hand holding a silver teething ring, her bare feet visible below the hem of an embroidered dress, the wispy curls, dark. The officer tore the photograph in half and dropped the pieces on the floor. Then he turned, the heels of his shiny boots grinding into the pictures, and left the apartment. Without a word, the other 2 officers followed. Papa stepped forward and closed the door behind him. Anne-Marie relaxed the clenched fingers of her right hand, Ellen's necklace. She looked down and saw that she had imprinted the Star of David into her palm. And so that is chapter 5. Now, we are looking for things, for big ideas in small details. So this is the tip. When you are thinking, speaking, or writing about big ideas, you need to try and find them in very, very small details. Sometimes that's a moment, sometimes that's a detail, and sometimes that's an object. Okay? So as you're doing this work, you want to look for small things. If we remember way back to Tiger Rising, you weren't here for that. It was one of our read-alongs. And we think about all the sadness and all the big ideas that came from that book. Misty Camillo used objects to talk about those big ideas. What were some of the objects she used?
The case.
The suitcase, right? The suitcase was where his pain was. Yeah. Anything? Any other object that meant something? The what?
Yeah.
The secrets?
Cigarettes.
The cigarettes. So there was something about cigarettes and gum, right?
The star of the star.
The sculptures, yeah. The rash. The Kentucky Star. The sun, the tiger, and the cage, right? So those were very specific, small objects. Big ideas about dealing with grief and what it means to hold something.
It was called the friend of Rob, the girl.
Oh,
Sistine.
no, Sistine.
Sistine.
Oh, so the name Sistine, so even that name. So authors do things on purpose.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
So-
It's Jurassic. It makes sense. Oh, I'm just a Jurassic. It's like, why not? If it's Jurassic, it's a tiger, right?
All right, so these are some questions that we ask ourselves as we're reading along, okay? I'll have this in the presentation as well. You do not need to copy this down. If you want a copy of it for your learning notebook or something, let me know, and I will make some copies. Tomas, can you see these questions or no? If you focus, can you see it?
Yes,
Yeah, okay. So this is what I want you to do. We just read that whole chapter. There was a lot of details, a lot of objects that were in there that are important. I want you to think to with your book club, what might be some of the objects that Miss Lowry purposely put into that chapter to make you think about something, and what might possibly, very, very possibly, be a big idea about those small objects or those small moments. Have that conversation with your book club.
I think that
Because if they had said it when they and it's in the cover, so it's in the
What idea? No, but like, what is the big idea? What is wrapped around the thing? What is the meaning? Yes, it's a necklace, it's a Jewish necklace. So what is Lowry trying to make?
and also
What is the
you can see here also the title says number the stars, so number the Jews. It collects the Jews.
Okay, but other than the
Also the
prediction,
preaching.
why would she have the,
Photo.
like, why would the author? Not a prediction, not something that's gonna happen.
Also this person.
No, Sebra, no. No, no voy a hacer con gente de piel. Sí. Y a mí no se me acuerda qué es. Mr. Light, the timer gets stopped.
So yeah, so in the
All right, 3, 2, 1, and 0. I heard a lot of talk about the necklace. I don't know if people noticed that there was a candle 2 times that appeared in that chapter. Also, the blue chest was mentioned a few times. The flashlight, okay. And I noticed too, like 2 chapters in a row, she kind of finished going to sleep, right? So all of these things, this is done on purpose. So as you're reading today and every day, start thinking about what might be this big idea. I can still hear it, it's still distracting. So if you need to do that, go back to your desk. But see, you're like thinking about it. You're wondering, how do I do that? So that has to be distracting. I'm sorry. Like, it worries me that some of you don't understand what distraction means. Like, that means when you're not focused and learning something and you're just thinking about the thing that's in your hand, you are being distracted, no matter what it is. So we need to start pushing ourselves. As I was talking with one group, this is not a prediction. We're not going to get the answer. All right, this is where it gets uncomfortable. Head. We're not going to know really if we're right or wrong. It's a guess. It's a hunch. It's like, I think. And some guesses and hunches might be better than others. But as you go along, as you talk as a club, you should not be talking about summaries and predictions. That's for 3rd graders. That's for 4th graders. You're 5th graders now. You need to start talking about ideas if you haven't already. Your book club conversations today should probably revolve around details and objects and big ideas. I'll be sure to get some of the Chromebooks, 1 for each group, so that you can record your conversation today and publish that on your website. That people can learn from you about what you talk about. Okay? So as you're reading today and every day, look for those small details. Guys, doodling is using your pen and looking at me. That's what doodling is. Doodling is fine. Drawing is focusing on other stuff. Okay. I'm going to give each person a reading log. Okay, sorry, there's an exit slip. That exit slip is going to be at the end of the day. End of the session. You're turning it in as a book club at the end. So this is probably something you should work on when you meet as a club. But I'll have it posted. Okay, so I don't want you to do it now. I'm going to give each person a reading log. On that reading log, a piece of information you're going to need to start tracking is how long does it take you to go from the mini lesson to start to work. So I will have a timer out, and I will click on that timer when I say donkey shorts, and then your job is to look up to see how long it has taken you to actually sit down and to start to read. Okay, I will be checking your reading logs today
to make sure that you have read at least 20 pages.
Reading
If you
log?
don't, I'm about to give you a reading log.
Oh,
If you do not read those 20 pages, then you lose your freedom, just like in writing.
You write.
You should be reading, like 20 pages a day is a lot less than you should be reading. So you're doing 20 pages a day and then you can write after that. So you're doing at least 20 pages a day. So as you leave, oh here, let's do this.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. You can see the third row is where it says transition. That's where you write the amount of time it took you to go from this area to get started to read.
Atención, transición. Ya te moriste. Ya te suicidaste.
I'll get it. You're welcome. Sorry.
Holy moly, that's the rolling.
Don't jerk. You're not actually having your book open and filling out your read log, then you can't possibly have been ready yet. So you don't have a timer in there. It means you have started to work. Six.
Try chapter 2 or chapter 3. Where are your notes on it? What are you trying to write about? No. So it doesn't make any sense to write notes and that you're thinking about something. When you're thinking about your parents in your life, have you ever worked on something that didn't make sense and then it did make sense? And what type of thing? Okay, a long time ago, you think that something has gone confusing and not making sense to me. So most of you listen to or hear or read, you understand it conveniently. What would you misunderstand? So this is what I want you to do. Let's go. I just want you to randomly read here. This is full page. And point me to the words that you don't know. read on and can't figure out, drop it. What about this word embroidery? You may explain it later. Since she was learning to embroider, she hoped one day to be a skilless her mother. What is her mother good at? Her mother good at embroidering. Her mother could paint with a needle and thread. Here's red dragon, so it's painting with a needle and thread. What does it mean when words are capitalized? So there's the garden word piece because at the back of it is what I know what earth means, but right? You don't know what servants are? Elementals do. Oh, so this time we need to look above. That little girl gave them a lot of servants. When you see the debate house, but even the outer court was forbidden. That's exactly what forbidden means. Since then, Jade had not been allowed to set foot outside of the inner court. She had no other business in a little small place. You find that interesting? This is where you misunderstand. I know you don't believe because you said this enough. If you don't write, you don't understand. It's a way to develop. That's it. You have no idea what you want. They don't even when you try to write anything down, you try to draw anything, and what it might look like. What is it like? Because he's trying to steal writing from her, so she can learn how to write, so she's forbidden. What about that? Or worthy of being read by women? You need to know why things happen the way they happen now. You need to understand that there's still wrong like this out there in the world that everybody's good. Boys know, what do I have to do?
To Hawaii.
Mhm.
Can I draw?
Why are you asking this? Your book, Geronimo, Martin, Santiago Zuluaga, and Ricardo. And your learning notebook, sorry. Learning notebook and your book. This is okay. Alright, so I just wanted to go over real quick this idea of characters and their feelings. Okay, the very first thing you need to have access to are words that describe feelings. Sad, Henry. Can you feel kind? I guess you can feel someone being kind to you. This is more like the emotions, right? Happy, sad, angry, mad, furious, confused. It's a feeling that you have. Hate, guilt would be you feel guilt. You've done something, you got in trouble, you feel guilty. This is how we figure out what our character feels. We pay attention to four things. We see what they do, we say what they say, how they say it, and then what they think. Those are the four things. That's the beautiful thing about reading, is we have this fourth one. Mostly movies, sometimes what people think. You have to kind of guess. So we use these four things to try to figure out how does someone feel. Okay. So thinking about the read aloud that we just did, that chapter 5, I think about Anne Marie. I think about Anne Marie and what her actions were, what she said, how did she talk? She whispered right when the Germans came over. She was scared. She was whispering, "Step up and find out." She also grabbed his necklace. She was frantic. She was very afraid. She ripped it off. At the end, there was an impression that she grabbed it so tight. So maybe she was angry. Maybe she was scared. Maybe there was a lot of things going on. And with those few clues, we know what she was feeling. We know she was feeling scared. I want you to think about a character in your book, and I want you to think about an action, something they've said, something they've done. Feeling you want to check in with each person. You know what's okay. You know what's is anyone ready?
Stable with the horses, where the town was destroyed, and he did that's what he was. He was going in the house Vermont to a safe town. I think he feels sad because his parents left him on the stable.
Okay, does he say something, do something, think something that tells you something? That's one of the skills. This one is more of a literal thing. We're using what we're doing and saying.
Yeah, I think the father doesn't care about the horses because when they were in the house, he asked his dad about the horses, and he says leave them there, and then he left it.
Oh, okay, so now you're showing that the dad doesn't feel something.
He cared more about his family.
So that's a different interpretation, saying the same thing, right? He's saying he didn't feel anything about the horses. You're saying he felt something for his family more than the horses.
And he felt for his family because he left his son that is young in the stable.
Because he wanted to be seen. Because he wanted to be seen. So he could go out.
Obviously, they were going to a safe town, and that town was destroyed in any way and
this, which is a really important word, you're starting to find out that characters can be complicated. Because maybe the dad loves you, and maybe the dad's doing something that seems like it's bad too. Right? Isn't that possible? That's where we kind of have to keep track of this stuff. So that's an excellent discussion, and that's the type of discussion you should have. Off we go. Word. What? You already have it? What? What does that tell you? She's feeling. Her actions. She's feeling problems. Okay. So remember, as you go back and read it, look at the actions of the thoughts, look at how they say it, and try and attach yours to it. Okay. Find it there. Happy, sad, angry, mad. Bored. What do you think the feelings are in this scene? Because they're always feeling. Characters are always feeling something. There's feelings in this. They're not going to say, I am angry right now. Or I am confused. You know, kind of look at stuff. How we would feel.
Because one of the system and she told and currently a system to Anna and she gave me
Okay, so she's happy.
She's happy.
Okay, awesome. So remember, as you're reading, characters are always feeling something. Our job is to figure out the mystery out. Right? All right, so it's now 10:18. Be sure to fill out your reading log, but also, this is what you need to do as a book club. Do the exit slip. So what might be one big idea in the small moment, detail, or object that hints to that big idea from one of your book club books? Doesn't have to be the one you're reading now. If you wanted to talk about an old one, but make sure all of your numbers are on it. What is a big idea from a small detail in one of your books? You can have that conversation first, probably, and then fill it out. Yep. What comes in second? What we did in the May lesson, we talked about the little objects in that chapter. Our name and I think I give you. Maybe the imprint shows right. And that I was giving you less time to work.
It's not enough cheap, but they don't treat it every like
This is your time to work with your club and learn something. I want to acknowledge, hold on, Courtney, Pineapple, Marco. I wasn't able to hear every group, but Anna Sophia, Amalia, and Emilio were having an important discussion about objects that they saw repeating, and they were all engaged in the discussion, so I wanted to acknowledge that as you go. Thank you. Try to remember, I'm keeping track of how many chairs and tables and desks are in this. Yeah. I'm going to be in here.
Simplemente va a ser un control y ya.
Yep. will check it at some point. I didn't say I was gonna check it today.
Oh,
I said I was gonna check it. You can practice out there.
Yeah, but without a computer.
Some, you have some memorized.
Yeah. Computer, if you're here, I
With the computer, yes.
But if you're not here, no. Okay.
That's another teacher's out. You can't let go. What's happening is when people go in front of police, there's no one there. Let's see who did it. The people did. So yes, if the teacher is there and you out of that window so that they can see.
Can you let me know if you're going to be?
I don't know. I'll stay here for that.
Yeah, but we
So you guys were stealing stuff from each other. You got Can you see any other thing that we can do here? I mean, you stole from him, he stole from you, and then finally you had enough, and you tried to choke him and give him a huge red marker on his neck. Inside the classroom. At school. Like, how is this okay? Guys? How is stealing from each other okay? It's all just trying to be funny with each other. It all just leads to disaster every single time. What would you like to happen? What do you think would be fair? Because that looks like a hurt. You might have a bruise there. That can't be tolerated. Of course, the stealing can't be tolerated.
Ugh.